You don't need to go far to go on a pilgrimage. I'm Kiran Young Wimberly, a spiritual director and a minister and a retreat and pilgrimage leader. And I've traveled with groups on pilgrimages for probably about 16 years. So, yeah, I've traveled with quite a few different groups. But what I have noticed is that when we get home, I'm always thinking, why do we feel that we have to go so far away to experience some of the amazing things that we experience while on pilgrimage? When actually, it's just a sort of frame of mind that we could apply to our own daily life as well. So, I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. Pilgrimage as movement with intention can be done in a longer trip, a longer intentional pilgrimage that could take a week to 10 days to 2 weeks or longer if you have that amount of time. You're at a stage in your life where you could disappear from your life for that long. Typically these days pilgrimages are about 7 to 14 days or so, but it doesn't need to be that long. Pilgrimages can be done in your ordinary life. They can be done in your own city. They can be done in your own town. They can be done in your own neighborhood. And it is just a frame of mind that sees this movement as an intentional chance to reflect on your life, to ask a few questions of yourself, to set aside a bit of time for reflection, and to be in movement while you do that. So, why would you go on a pilgrimage, whether it be a long pilgrimage or something closer to home that could take maybe a few hours? So you might want to do that if there is a change happening in your life, maybe a big transition happening, maybe something you need to spend a little bit of time reflecting on the direction that you're heading in your life. If you feel that there is a shift in perspective happening, a new chapter, a new season beginning for you. Maybe it's a threshold moment for you. This is maybe for some reason unknown to yourself, you're sensing that you're on the edge of something new and different. You don't know exactly what that is. Maybe it's time for a bigger change to happen in your life, but you don't know really how to go about making that change. So those are some of the questions that you might go into a pilgrimage with. And again, you don't need to spend thousands of dollars booking a large pilgrimage trip, although that can be an incredible experience. I really do recommend it as an actually life-changing experience for you. But if that is not something that you can do right now, but you do feel like you're on that threshold moment, then what I would recommend is setting aside a couple of hours and planning out a pilgrimage route that is much closer to home for you. You could do it with a few other people, you could do it with a small group, or you could do it on your own. So it's up to you how you go about doing it and where you do it, but it's the attitude with which you go about this movement with intention. Here are some questions that I think are helpful to reflect on as you are going on this pilgrimage and as you prepare, but also to reflect on as you're on your way. So the questions could be, where have I come from? So, where have you been through up until now? What's your life story? How have you ended up where you are right now? What is the life experience that you have within you at this moment in time? Where have I come from to be where I am today? And then the next question is, what are you looking for? So, what are you looking for in what's ahead? Is there something that you want to shift or change in your life? Is there something that you're looking for more of in the future for yourself? Or is there less of something that you'd like in your future? So, what are you looking for? Is there something you're seeking? Is there a question you're hoping to have answered? Is there healing that needs to take place within your life? Is there recovery from some sort of burnout or depletion in your life where you have been overly spent in your work or your life demands, caring for other people, perhaps? Is there something like that that is within you at this moment in your life and you're looking for something maybe different than what you have right now, maybe a little bit of a shift or a tweak to what's going on in your life? But that is the second question. What am I looking for? The third question is, what is my deepest longing? So this goes even further than what am I looking for? It's what what am I craving on that deeper level? Is there maybe a dream and a hope that I have been carrying within myself that I'm looking for that I want to explore in this next chapter? So that deeper longing is listening to maybe something that has been uncovered or sorry, that has been covered for you, that has been underneath the surface that maybe you just haven't been able to attend to because you've been so busy with everything else. Maybe you've been ignoring that deepest longing within you, but a pilgrimage is a way to get outside of your comfort zone and outside of your daily routine and your daily life and to really begin to explore some of those deeper questions we don't always have the time for. So, what is your deepest longing? Not an easy answer to find, but one that is really important to at least give the space to explore. And then the final question is, what am I being invited into? So this is where we begin to envision or to listen for that vocation or that calling that might be in our future. And this could be something that we believe God is inviting us to. I guess that's maybe what makes it different from what am I looking for? This is maybe giving some space to listen to that divine calling that might be inviting you into something that maybe you wouldn't even necessarily choose yourself. Maybe there's a bit of a challenge to it. Maybe there's a bit of discomfort that comes with this invitation into the future. But also, equally, it could be an invitation to a much more joyful and full life than what you have right now. It could be an invitation into healing, into wholeness. It could be an invitation into a greater sense of peace and fulfillment in your life. It could be an invitation to rest deeply. It could be an invitation to try something new and explore a new experience in your life. But that final question is sort of listening for that invitation from God. And this may not be easy to hear or may not be easy to discern what this invitation might be, but if we don't give the space in our lives to listen for it, then we may never hear that. We may just keep going and going and going with our day to day lives and not actually step out of our living spaces and our comfort zones to really give ourselves that opportunity to listen. So those are the four questions that I would invite you to reflect on a pilgrimage, whether it's a long one or one just closer to home that you can do in a few hours set aside on a weekend or a day off. What I see coming out of pilgrimage, every time I get home, I think we can apply this to our daily lives here if we just have that perspective and that state of mind. Now, one is noticing the beauty of the world around us. So when I'm traveling with groups, people are just gobsmacked by what they see around them. Every single view, every single moment is just, it's so worth taking a picture or noticing how special it is. But those moments can be found in our regular lives too. We don't need to travel to the far corners of the earth to notice beautiful moments and beautiful vistas and special encounters and things like that. So, noticing the world around us can be done where we live if we choose to have that kind of pilgrimage state of mind on a more daily basis, the pilgrimage of life rather than those pilgrimages that are a once in a lifetime opportunity. And another thing is that in a lot of pilgrimage cultures, in religious traditions around pilgrimage, we teach that we are looking for Christ in the stranger and encounters with Christ, perhaps in a stranger's disguise. So that is something that is within Celtic spirituality, and a lot of the saints would have taught about seeing strangers or others that we may not recognize, but to view them as if they might be Christ in a stranger's disguise. So we talk about that a lot on our pilgrimages, and the encounters we have with other people suddenly become so much more fascinating and meaningful. And there is so much more of a chance for us to be changed and really transformed by those encounters with other people. And again, I start to think, what if we just approached our daily encounters with that type of open mindedness and open eyed quality? If we sought that experience in our day to day lives, if we looked for Christ in the stranger on a day to day basis, how our lives would be different than they tend to be when we kind of gloss over and we just go about our lives as if there's nothing special or meaningful about our day to day existence. But that pilgrimage mindset can be applied every day. The other aspect of pilgrimage is that we train ourselves to see every thing that happens as a part of the pilgrimage journey, that it has meaning and it has something to teach us. It has a lesson to leave with us. And this often happens and really comes into play when something goes wrong on the pilgrimage. If a boat doesn't show up or can't come because of a storm, or if you miss the train, you miss the bus, you can't get where you're going, and suddenly plans need to change. And sometimes in a monumental way, like things are really messed up and you miss a few days of your planned pilgrimage. But with that pilgrimage mindset, we see those twists and turns, those sometimes completely out of our control, those things that happen that we just have to deal with. If we're willing to see those with the pilgrimage lens, then we see those as an opportunity to pay attention to how we respond. We pay attention to how we react when our plans don't go as we expect, when things fall apart around us and we suddenly have to do something totally different than what we thought we were going to do. We all have different reactions to that. We all have different ways of handling those types of situations, but it really asks us to reflect on how we respond when things don't go our way and when there are those unexpected twists and turns to life. But that, of course, doesn't only happen when we're on pilgrimage. It happens on a day to day basis. It happens all the time when our plans don't go as we thought. How do we respond in those moments? If we begin to see our lives with a pilgrimage perspective. So, those are some things that we can take with us into our everyday life, whether we go on a 2-hour pilgrimage of our neighborhood, or whether we even just go about our day with that pilgrimage frame of mind and thinking of movement with intentionality and asking ourselves those reflective questions, especially if we're at that kind of threshold moment of something maybe changing in our lives. And then noticing all of the beauty, the strangers and the encounters and the unexpected twists and turns of our lives. If we saw all of those with a pilgrimage perspective, how different would our daily life be? So I want to leave you with those thoughts. And as we close, here is sort of the bare bones of a Celtic prayer that you can offer as you go out on this pilgrimage. Bless the earth beneath my foot and bless the path whereon I go. Bless the earth beneath my foot, bless the path whereon I go. And you can just take that with you out into your day or into your neighborhood and look for what comes your way and be surprised and allow that to change you and allow that to teach you. Blessings on your pilgrimage, whether it be near or far. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel, you'll hear more tips on the spiritual life and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.